Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Big Home Ed Conversations. You're here, as always, with myself, Kelly Rigg. I'm a home ed mum of two and founder of Off-Roading Motherhood. I'm a qualified mindset coach, and I've got a real passion for working with home ed and sort of neurodivergent families as well as they kind of navigate the transition to home education. And I'm joined by my good friend, Ashley Venerio. So she is over in the sunny Italy at the moment, a bit too sunny, I think. She's also a fellow home educating mum of three and an ex-primary teacher. So we started this podcast with the sole aim of busting past the myths. We're sick of talking about them. We want to talk to you about the stuff that actually matters to home educating parents. So we get into this nitty gritty, the stuff beyond the, are they socialized and do they need their hand holding? But when it comes to GCSEs, no, they're still going to be great. They're going to be amazing kids. And we all know that now. So we literally would find ourselves sat around a coffee table, having a cup of coffee, having these intense conversations, supporting each other to overcome all these amazing mindset shifts. And actually, we thought, honestly, we should turn this into a podcast. And we found out something very exciting this week, that we are in the top 3 home educating podcasts in the world. We've checked it on all the different places to see if we definitely rank that high everywhere. And actually, when you look at the top 3, the other 2 in the top 3 aren't currently active. So that essentially makes us the number 1 podcast that is active on the platform for home education anywhere in the world right now. And that honestly has just filled our hearts with the most insane excitement. So thank you so much to every single one of you who tune in every week, who are sharing it, who are rating us, who are coming and joining us on social media. So we're Big Home Ed Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Come and follow us. Come and join in with the conversations. We are polling you at the moment. We're trying to find out as well what you guys want to hear about. We've got some great plans for season 4, which will start in sort of September time. We've got some incredible interviews lining up and things that we want to talk about, but we want to know what you want to know about. We obviously produce these podcasts based on what we witness with conversations happening in our local community and the things that people care about, but we want to know what you want to know about. So please do reach out. So this week, we wanted to talk to you about AI. Oh my goodness, honestly, ChatGPT has taken the world by storm. Whether you love it or you hate it, I think it is the most incredible platform for home educators. Let's be honest, there can be an awful lot of busy work associated with home education. Your brain is whirring constantly with what to do with them next, what they might enjoy, what kind of projects they might have fun doing, how to engage SEND children, all of the different things, right? And I think I initially found AI a bit stressful because prompting it is hard work and sometimes you don't always get it right and it comes up with a load of nonsense. It's like, oh, this is a waste of time. But actually, now I understand more about how much information to give it, etc. You can actually get some real gold out of it. And we wanted to chat to you today about streamlining your home education a little bit by including some of these AI practices in it. And we hope that it will be really helpful. But with no further ado, I suppose we need to get into our gratitude. Ashley, are you grateful for the 42 degrees that you've been experiencing this week?
Oh gosh, it is so hot here in Italy, and I'm in northern Italy, so I feel there are people suffering more than me. Yeah, it's been hot. So I definitely am grateful for air conditioning, of which I have none right now. So I'm appreciative of our time in Florida where we did have that.
Oh, bless you. I don't think it
Yeah,
was even
and
that hot in Florida, was it?
no. It's just a different kind of heat. And we were right by the ocean, which always changes things. You just have the constant breeze and it's definitely a bit cooler. Here it is, we are just in the middle of the country and it is scorching. So next week we're going down to Tuscany, not quite by the water though, and it will be even hotter down there. So
Yay.
I got a request this morning from my husband to buy one of those fans that go on your neck. And I've seen like waiters or servers, I should say, in the restaurants down in Tuscany last time we were there wearing them. And I'm like, that is a great idea. And I think it will help. So that's my goal, is to go get some of those. I'll see if I can.
You can get like t-shirts with them built in now as well, or like cooling t-shirts that have got like liquid that's like pumping through little tiny tubes through the t-shirt to like keep your body cool.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, there's definitely some stuff out there. So do some like emergency Amazon buying basically at this point. It's
Right,
like we need to survive, like we're not going to make it. I honestly don't
Exactly.
even know how you're coping. I don't think I would actually tolerate 42 degrees. I think I might literally just be lying in a pool of my own sadness somewhere. But yeah,
I'm doing that too.
bless you. Well, I think, grad-wise this week, I'm trying to think what's going on. I feel like my brain has been in one of those incredible generating modes, and I am really grateful for me. My ADHDisms aren't always, in my opinion, a pleasure, but there is one thing about me that I really, really love, and that is my idea generating capabilities. And I have been having some incredible ideas this week. Some of it's like, I think there was someone who said on a podcast I was listening to recently about how sometimes you can feel this real, like, oh, lethargy, can't really be bothered. Like, actually, I don't really want to do something. But they were saying that they had like an interview coming up with someone that they were really looking forward to, but that day they woke up and they were really tired. They didn't really want to do it. They felt really low in energy. They did the interview anyway because they really they needed to get it done. And actually, it massively picked their energy up. And I think that what I have realized in me is that I need inspiration. All the while I have something which I'm feeling inspired about, my energy levels can be really high. If I'm feeling bored or sluggish or I haven't got a lot going on, my energy levels slowly come right down, and then I feel really sad and rubbish. And then unless I can pick up some inspiration from somewhere, I really can't get going again. And I've had two or three things happen in the past couple of weeks that have helped me to really pick up my inspiration. One is a sort of a not so nice thing that's made me think a lot more about embracing my life and grasping it right now. And another is like my son deciding that he goes, I think I'm getting a bit bored of the ocean topic now. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? It has tailed off a bit. I think we have kind of reached our like limit of interest. And I said, what do you want to do next? And he goes, the Amazon rainforest. I'm just like, oh my God, what a great topic. Like, yes, great. Let's jump straight into that one. So that I'm kind of like, now my brain's starting to percolate on what we're doing next. And so I think I've had a couple of like business ideas in that as well. Like I'm an entrepreneurial spirit. I do come up with ideas all the time, but I've found a company that's a home educating family who world school, who are doing these amazing pop-up hubs, and you can kind of work with them and list, you can generate a pop-up hub that's like one of theirs, you can like host one and you get a share in the commission from it and all the rest of it. And I'm just like, actually, that sounds like a great idea. So I think I might be trying to plan one for the UK for next year. So watch this space, anybody who's abroad who maybe wants to come meet me. I might actually plan one for like Dorset or down by Stonehenge or somewhere really cool, so that we've got loads of really exciting things to go visit, and you guys can all come and actually, we might do like a big home ed podcast world schooling pop-up hub, and you can come and meet us and come and see us if you're listeners, which would be really awesome. So yeah, so I've got all these incredible ideas, and like I don't even know when I'm supposed to have the time to make them. So I guess that brings us quite neatly onto the concept of AI, to be honest, because I think that is such a common day-to-day problem, isn't it? That we find ourselves wishing we could do more, but actually not having the time. And like I go to write an email and I just find myself thinking, I know what I need to say, but like, oh my God, I would type it all out and I've got to try and rephrase it and I've got to make sure it sounds professional. And do I need to think about this? What else do I need to say to convince them or whatever? So like, for example, sort of sending an email trying to get somebody on for an interview who's quite high profile this week. And I was like, I don't even know what to say. Like I'm emailing a media team. Like, what do you actually say to a media team when you're not just speaking to the person and asking them if they fancy doing it? And so you just go into ChatGPT and you say, I am writing this email. It needs to be professional. It's about this podcast. Please go and have a look at the podcast and see what we do and what our ethos is. Please help to demonstrate to them that this is what we do and this is what we want, and produce me an email. And you give it you do have to give it parameters and prompts and like make sure you're thinking about the tone you want it to have and like any important statistics you want it to include or whatever. But ultimately it wrote me a blooming good email that will probably never get read, but let's be honest, it's worth a try. And it was, I obviously then just went through it and just edited it and just added some thoughts myself and just humanized it a little bit more. But you can teach it to write like you. You can give it examples of your writing and ask it to write like you and all sorts. So I have definitely reached a point now where I think I reach for AI, I don't even want to know how many times a day, like at least 3 to 5 times a day, probably, for my business, for my home ed, for my personal life, for my therapy, for behavioral issues, for missteps in social norms and communication. When I get something wrong with my kids or I make a joke they don't like or whatever, like there are so many uses. And honestly, the platform has been generated with a really strong neuro-affirming, gender-affirming, respectful tone. So actually, it gives really good advice as well. So I guess what I wanted to kind of get into today was some of the ways that we've used it for home education, especially, how to get the best out of it, and ultimately having some fun with it too, like actually helping your kids to start learning how to use it. Because as much as we might not like it, and as much as we might find ourselves worrying about the use of AI in education and how it essentially takes a lot of the thinking time out of it, which obviously does exercise our neuroplasticity. It helps us to actually learn how to do things. We don't want to constantly be cheating and not using our brain power, but it does obviously help our kids to start to produce things that maybe they would struggle to do otherwise. Especially like my son hates writing, for example. It's very difficult for him to get his ideas down on paper, but he's coming up with creative characters and stories and stuff all the time right now. And so having a bit of fun with AI and getting it to help him generate stories is just helping him to like bring to life things that he's thinking about, and I think will inspire him to want to go and try and write a story, to add to it and to adapt it and change it and all the rest of it. So there's so many cool things to do with it. So let's kind of like dig in right now. But how much are you using it, Ashley? Do you find you're using it a lot?
I definitely use it less than you, and I would say less than some of the people in our like immediate chat home ed mom group. So I feel like all of you inspire me to dive in a little deeper. But I have to say, like I think I come at it from a different perspective because I've read, I guess, from an education perspective. So whereas I use it, my kids don't use it. And I have read just recently an article about AI use in like nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like, take care of yourself because the nurses are passing their exams with the help of AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're completing their homework and all of this with the help of AI. And so the question is like, are they going to be like pulling up AI when they're treating you in the hospital? Or at some
Mm-hmm.
point, will they actually learn this stuff themselves? And certainly this is not the case for everyone. This is just one very specific example that someone wrote about, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And I just thought like, okay. And then I am a like very like voracious reader, I guess I would say. And there is a lot of conflict in the author community right now around books being written with the help of AI. And so you'll find that a lot of the books being published now actually will have a note in the beginning that will say, this book was written 100% by me, zero AI input, and one author even joked like, I'm putting this here because I know I'll get asked, but yes, I wrote this book. No, I did not use AI. Now let's move on. And I can appreciate that because that's kind of what's happening now, right? Like you get stuck, you have this idea for a book, you might say, here are my major plot points. I want it to be roughly 300 pages. I want, I want an interesting interaction with the mom and dad about like lawn furniture. I don't know, and you can kind of really get specific about
Yeah.
what you want to see. And then they pull this thing together and are finding, oh gosh, it like kind of closely mimics this other story over here. And then authors are saying that was kind of
Yes.
taken from my book. And like,
Yeah.
so it's definitely for someone who's like, reading a book a day, essentially like this is a very hot topic
It
for
is.
me
Yeah.
and something I never want my kids to even know is there until they're much older.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a feeling with like the way that children are these days and wanting everything in the moment because that's how, they don't watch commercials on TV. They don't have to wait for the show to air on Friday at 8 p.m. They don't have to sit in the restaurant and be bored. They don't stare at water droplets on a window on the way to school on the school bus, right? They don't do that kind of stuff anymore. They are absolutely 100% meeting their needs as they come up with zero patience.
With zero
This is
resistance.
just, yes. And this is just my
Yeah.
opinion. I'm not trying to say that anything people doing that is wrong.
Mm.
Um, and it's just the way it is. So if you even, I was talking to someone yesterday about how when their daughters got cell phones, and it's this thing where, and she was like, well, when they entered middle school, so sixth grade for most Americans, probably year five, no, year seven here. What's middle school in Britain? Year seven.
It goes from year 3 to year 6, and then year 7 is secondary.
Year seven
So
is secondary. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So that year. So then you're year seven. And it's not even because that's when she necessarily wanted her children to have phones. It's because that's when all the other kids got phones. So then your kid is left out. Your kid is not knowing where people are meeting up. Your kid is not knowing what's happening. Your kid isn't involved in, even from a scholastic perspective, like, quizzing each other on WhatsApp for the test tomorrow, right? That kind of stuff. So it's something that is, the social pressure for children to have this information is very real. And so I just think that for my children, if they ever learned that they could just, I mean, it's enough with Alexa in our house. If they ever learned that they could actually have AI answer their homework questions, not that they have homework, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would 100% do that. So
I think what's interesting
yeah.
about this, so like I love this actually, it's continuing to a really, really great debate, I think. So with the concept of AI, I think this comes down to like the generational kind of like each generation helps to archive and use information in a different way that allows people access to it, that allows them to learn and grow and to take on more information in different forms. And I think that like in dozens of generations ago, obviously who knows when, that obviously libraries have been around in human existence for a very long time. We've started to put things into books. People put down their perspectives and ideas and concepts into books that people can read and process and understand and enjoy. And obviously if you needed to understand something, you went and found the book that would help you to have that information. Obviously the internet came along, and suddenly information is that much more easy to access. People are producing websites, they're uploading books and the contents and the concepts of books into websites and easily archivable, like Wikipedia and other things. So like instead of needing to go and find an encyclopedia that might have some outdated information in it from God knows when, now we've got a regularly updated Wikipedia of information and facts. And then obviously now then you get the point of like, well, now everyone just Googles everything. So now everyone's stressed because they're Googling it. And that's obviously then they're able to then look through the websites and find some information and start to understand all of the different opinions and stuff that are there. Now, this is a point I'll come back to in a second, actually, because that is important. It's this ability to form your own opinion and to have your own critical thoughts, which is super important. Like you have got to keep this factor in mind, because AI is essentially taking another step in the direction of archiving information. So AI is taking all the information that is possibly available to it, and it's segmenting it, tagging it, sorting it, organizing it so that it can easily use your prompts to find that information and pull it forward. Now, that does take away an element of your research. And depending on the prompts you've given it and how much rope you give it, it will form its own opinion and then give you its opinion. And you have got to be really, really mindful of the fact that AI is taking all of the information that it can possibly glean from the prompts that you have given it, which is, it can only do so much. And then it's formed an opinion and then it's given it to you. Now, when it comes to that can be exceptionally useful when you're just trying to find a quick answer to a question that is a straight up factual answer. It can also be really helpful if you're asking it to kind of like offer you advice around behaviors and stuff like that. Like I found it being able to pull, like obviously it's ideas. So people will have written blogs and books and papers and psychology things. And it's obviously able to access all of that information and digest it and understand it in a way that I will never be able to understand it. And is then able to pull all that information together and summarize it to me in a way that I can understand, which allows me to access it and use it. Now, that speed of accessing the information, understanding it and using it allows me to problem solve and deal with it in the moment and crack on with it. So I think that's a really helpful thing that children, again, I do think that there are uses for children in this, that they would be able to kind of get a lot of information, ask it to summarize it as if I'm a 10-year-old person, help me understand this better.
100%.
Because I'm Googling it and I'm reading it and I'm trying to understand it and it's really not sinking in. It's taking ages and my brain can't process it. And yes, okay, they are picking up important bits of information, new vocabulary, new ideas, new concepts along the way, but that can also cause them to lose interest and move on, or maybe they won't get the actual answer they needed because they've searched and searched and searched, but they just can't find the exact right website, which we've all done before, right? Like you've been searching through Google and you just can't find what you're looking for. And so you just kind of give up in the end and just like, okay, never mind. But this obviously allows us to, maybe not as a first choice, but is a tool that can be used to help us to reach the conclusion and to help us to actually get to the point of being able to get that information to read it. Now, doesn't mean that we're not then learning it. Doesn't mean we're not then taking that information, using it, applying it and having fun with it and doing other things with it. But I think for sure, I definitely don't want my kids using it for literally answering every single question that they get in their heads. They definitely need to know there are lots of other ways to find it. But I think the fear around, like, I can imagine like when our generation was in school, parents are probably freaking out about the internet, being like, oh, it's just going to be so instant for them. They're not going to have had to put any effort into finding out any information. Like we used to have to go and find an encyclopedia. If it wasn't in your local library, then that was it. You didn't know. Like it's just like we just don't have this information at all. And they actually saw it as a massive problem. Ultimately, what it's actually done is, yes, it does create problems. Every solution creates a problem in its own right. but ultimately it has opened people up to different career options and travel and connection and relationships with people across the world, and learning that different ideas and concepts and religions and places experience things in different ways, and it actually helps us to get a much wider understanding of each other. So I think I'm finding myself feeling like it's just like the next generational panic, almost a little bit, of what's going to happen. And I think as long as people use it respectfully, which, let's face it, not everybody will, it's okay. But AI is there's a big warning to it, because I think the plagiarism thing is a really big issue, and it's something
Yeah.
which is sad in its own way, that as well people will be producing things and passing it off as real and written by a person. And yeah, so it's going to rely on human honesty, or on them putting some things in place that kind of ensure that people know that it's generated with OpenAI. Like maybe that's like they could connect to say if that is posted somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're required to share if you did
Yeah.
use AI to help you from a book publishing perspective, but
Yeah.
I don't know about anything else, and I could also be wrong on that. But I do think I saw somewhere that like they are requesting
Yeah.
/ requiring you to say AI help me do this.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is, just from a and not that all our kids are sitting here writing essays left and right, but I think from a reporting perspective, from that, I do feel like while sure, there's always the next panic, rock and roll, Nintendo, all of this stuff, right? Each generation has its own cross to bear with that. But I think that from a curation perspective, whether you're pulling resources from Google and having to go through them and highlight the appropriate information that you're looking for, and citing things that way, more digitally than you would if you had a physical book at a library. And I definitely think, I know my niece and nephews, when they were in school and writing reports, and they were using the internet, and I was like, we had to go to the library, and like, this is so much easier. And I can't believe like I could never do a report at 10 p.m. because the library is closed. So I had to plan, and I had to go when it was open, and my mom would drop me off on Sunday morning, and like all the drama of that. And now it's at your fingertips. You can do it from, your laptop in your bed. Like, that's obviously super frustrating for those of us that did it a different way, but they're still curating the information.
Yeah.
They're still deciding what is right, and there is nobody helping them form a sentence.
No.
There is nobody helping them put the paragraph together or decide, is that a good topic sentence? Am I relating back to my thesis? Like, none of that is happening. And so I do think that if you're using AI to gather resources and say, share with me the top 10 sites around bird migration, awesome. Yeah. But if you're using it to, write me a good thesis statement on why, then I think actually that terrifies me, because it's going to take away the children / adults' ability to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And to develop like good critical thinking skills, because they're missing out on that curation. Yeah. And I'm sure it's a lot easier. And that's nice. But that's really, really where I get held up. But I think we're not really there yet. Like, my kids are still younger. They're not writing huge book reports. They're not, writing a big 20-page thesis. Like, nothing like that is happening yet. So there's no like problem. Like, I'm not holding back on them at this point. But where I am using it is for me. So I'm saying, okay, we're reading this children's book about whales. Tell me about whale fall off, or, maybe put that in the perspective of a 10-year-old, or, you were talking about putting things at their level. Tell me how the kidneys work in a way that a 5, 8, and 11-year-old would understand. What's a good craft that we could do that would demonstrate that, those kinds of things, which I think are fantastic. And I think, to your point, if you're homeschooling or home educating and you're not doing that, you're probably working harder, not smarter, right? And so there are opportunities for you to quickly get ideas. And I think that is absolutely something that puts some time back on your calendar, which we all need. And I think we're all at the level, as the home educating parents or responsible party, to really understand if what we're sharing with our kids is legit, or if we're, giving them bogus information. So I think that is absolutely something that I do. And I know you guys do it as well. And by
I
you
think
guys, I mean our friend moms that we're always chatting about.
Yeah, it's so interesting because as we're talking about this and we're kind of like mulling it over, I'm finding myself thinking, so my main kind of focus in a lot of my coaching and supporting people is in the art of slowing down and not making it so that, like, so for example, like washing machines came along and took away our need to wash our own clothes, which actually stopped women from coming together and sitting together and talking and washing clothes together and physically moving their bodies and staying fitter and healthier and right, all the things, right? So that's just one example of how solutions create their own problems. So actually a lot of the easefulness of taking care of like domestic duties inside your own house stops us from going to these communal places where we'd spend time together, where we'd work together, we'd support each other. But you know what I mean? Like it got rid of jobs, it got rid of opportunities. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, obviously we're worried about children using these for their assignments and their things down the line because it's going to stop them from thinking, it's going to stop them processing. And there's a little tiny part of me that's going, maybe I've already changed my mind about how I feel about this. So like the concept of a home educator, you've got lots of things that you need to plan. So I use it for, so listing the sorts of things I use it for. When we start a topic, I might ask it to suggest some great websites or YouTube videos or podcasts or something that we could possibly listen to whilst we're doing it. I might ask it to help me come up with some maths exercises or like some fun, creative ways to use maths. So that's kind of more subtle that they might not realize we're doing it. I might ask it to, so say, for example, we were doing magic once and I said to it, we've been covering magic. Can you suggest 10 activities that are in line with the Key Stage 1 curriculum that would cover off most of the learning aims that would normally be considered important in a year 1 classroom, whatever it was. And it came back and it suggested a bunch of stuff and I'd pretty much done it already. And I was like, oh, great, that sounds exciting. So equally, you could then give it all the stuff you've been doing and you could say, have we covered off everything? Like, is there any gaps? Is there anything else I could do? Equally, my favorite thing to use it for with the kids at the moment is bedtime stories. Now, what we tend to do, so it started off when we were at Center Parks, we didn't have any books with us, so I forgot to pack some bedtime stories. And I don't even know where the thought just sparked into my head, oh, I wonder if it could write me a story for them. And so I got it to write me a story about them at Center Parks, Longleat, and like, can you write me a funny bedtime story, like with sort of slapstick vibe, because my kids love all like poop and people falling over and something smacking them in the face, that kind of stuff. It makes them cackle. And it wrote us a story and the kids loved it. It was so funny. And so then like the next night we added a load more prompts. We added more information about them as characters. We added their friends who we were with as well and their ages. We told it that they were separate families, that they were like siblings from each different family, staying in different lodges, that like this is their favorite thing to do, that we wanted to include a mythological creature, like that it had to be a mystery, that it had to be an adventure. Honestly, it just, if you keep adding different bits of information in, it then produced these like really hilarious stories. And it's just so creative. And some of them are so random and strange and they don't actually always work out. But it kind of got me thinking. And over the last few weeks where we've been not doing ocean topics, I've been doing things like, I think one of them I said to it, can you write me an adventure story about 2 people, my children's names, in a submarine, going down through the different levels of the ocean, coming across creatures that live in those different type like layers of ocean, but don't tell us what they are. I want you to describe them and be like, what is that? And I can get my kids to say it's an octopus or it's a dolphin or whatever, but like give me some like things about features of them and the behaviors so that they actually can try and work out what they are. And obviously it got harder and harder with some of the lower levels where it's like really weird. I think it came up with like a sea cucumber or something and none of us had a clue what it was trying to get at. And it's like it obviously then had in brackets what the creature was.
To describe, and you're like, well, it's not that.
Yeah, just like I have no idea. So that was really, really cool. And the kids loved it. And it was a really great story. So I think we've used it to compound learning, like whatever we've been doing that day or experiencing that day. So for example, we're going somewhere today that's kind of quite history based. So I might this evening do one to do with like Tudor times and all the rest of it. So it's like, actually it's really exciting. Kind of, it makes it really engaging. It helps with some sort of like social stories as well. So if you've got any kind of send stuff that you're dealing with, that actually social stories wise, it helps to produce really good social stories. And you can kind of prompt it to make sure it's like, make sure there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's like, this is just really normal. And like, this is how we kind of handle it. And this sort of leads me on to a funny story, to be honest, because it did make me laugh. So I was writing one for my son the other day about just making sure we are actively like using the toilet regularly through the day, because he tends to not want to go to the toilet and he holds it for hours and hours and hours. It's obviously not good for his body. And it was a hilarious story about him riding his dragon Blaze, who has been holding it in all day, and then mid race he just can't hold it anymore, and it comes out and it poos all over the people below him that are flying beneath him, and then they try and go down to like finish doing his business before he makes any more mess, and then he falls in it, and then they have to go in the river. Like, it's like a whole thing, and it's so funny. Like, it was just like, my son was absolutely cackling listening to it, and I was like, this is genuinely brilliant. And then it said, do you want me to produce some illustrations for you? And I was like, yeah, go on then. Like, that sounds fun. Like, let's see what the illustrations are. Now, if you want to see the illustrations, just head over to TikTok or Instagram. I have shared them. It was so funny. Like, the images started out, the first picture was great, and then it just went so downhill from there. I have no idea what it was thinking. It completely lost track of the whole concept of the story. It was just making up these really random images based on like its summary of what each page would have been about. But obviously it just forgot that it was a storyline, that they actually went from like one thing to the next. Like, it was just like, oh, these are random trains now, like train dragons flying through the air, and like, oh my goodness. Anyway,
Thomas the Tank Engine in the water.
I was gonna say, like, they're just like, why? You got like Thomas and Percy having a good old like splash around, like Blaze the dragon turned into Blaze the car. Like, I don't even know what it was thinking. Like, it just literally lost the plot. And honestly, it was so funny. And I got me and my son were just sat wetting ourselves laughing at it, to be honest. So it did give us a laugh, but it was not helpful in the slightest. So pinch of salt with the illustration side of things. Language is clearly its thing. But yeah, I just found myself like, these things are really helpful, and they do help me to kind of re-cement learning and to come up with like moral stories, or like if you're dealing with a behavioral issue or something. So like, we've been talking a lot about boundaries and about making sure that you're kind of respecting people's boundaries. And I did come up with a metaphor yesterday about kind of a king with his city, and his city has its rules, and if people abide by them, then everything's good. But if people start misbehaving and like not doing the things they're supposed to do, or people keep trying to breach his walls, what's he going to do? How's he going to react? Like, is he going to make his walls taller? Is he going to put archers on the top? Is he going to close the gates? Is he going to stop trusting people? Or is he going to start retaliating? Like, actually, we all have boundaries, and the more people come in, I thought, actually, this would be a great story. I'm going to try and build a social story around this to keep reinforcing it and to keep telling them it. So that's one of the things we've been using it for a lot lately. And I think it's just a really engaging, fun way. I mean, I've got quite young children, sort of 5 and 8. So they do both still really enjoy a good bedtime story. And it just helps us to cover off things. And actually, I wanted a proper picture book. And I found myself saying to it the other day, can you recommend some like picture books for this kind of age range that cover this already, that I can buy, so that I've actually got like a nice proper printed out book to go through with them as well. And I think you can ask it for all sorts of things, like if anything that you're trying to figure out. Yeah, I've literally used it as my therapist and all sorts, really. Like, if you're having a bad day and you just need to talk it through with someone, it's amazing how helpful it can be, actually, to just process your thoughts and to work through whatever you're feeling as well. I don't know if you've used it for that.
You had shared the book idea with me, I guess it was yesterday, and I just had never thought of that. So funny enough, this never happens, but last night, after being at camp all day, like this horse camp that my girls are going to, we've had a lot of time apart, and I've seen the need for reconnection, but there's just not enough hours in the day once they get home. And my youngest was asking me, can you tell me a story about our cat? And I was like, oh, okay. So I just thought she wanted me to like retell a story of something he's done that's silly in the past. So I like remembered something he did and was telling her. She's like, no. Like, he doesn't have any friends and he is really sad. But then this other friend comes over, this other cat. And like, she kept adding like layers to this story. And in the end, she kind of told her own story. But as she was telling me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tie this into ChatGPT because Kelly just told me about this. So as she's telling me these parameters, I'm putting it in. And I said, create me a story with including all of this. And then the cat that was the friend, ChatGPT named Luna. And she was like, that's not, the name is Belle. And I was like, okay, rewrite the whole story the same as it is, but change Luna to Belle. So then it regenerates it, right? So I reread it and she's like, it says that our cat's eyes are blue, but they're actually green. Okay, keep the whole story the same, but change the cat's eyes to green. Okay. And then she was like, I actually said that the cat friends get married at the end and you didn't include that. And I was kind of like, in my mind, I did purposefully leave it out because I'm like, they just met. Why are they getting married? Like, this is not a moral lesson I'm trying to teach you. Like, it's not Cinderella here, people. Okay. So I'm like, please have Luna and our cat get married, but after a while that they've gotten to know each other and spend a lot of time together. So then it adds like this back end and in the end, it was a really sweet story. So I like copied it and just pasted it into my notes app on my phone so that I would have it because I wasn't logged into like my proper ChatGPT. I was just on like the public one on my phone.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my login to maintain it. So I'm like, oh, and if we want to read it later, I'll have it. So at the end, it was like, do you want me to turn this into an audiobook, into a printed storybook, or would you like to add images? And I was like, add the images because I was so curious what it would come up with. And sadly, because I was on my phone, it was like, we can't do that right now. You have to log onto your PC. And I was like,
Rubbish.
so
Yeah.
I will be putting that story into ChatGPT and requesting some images just to see what it comes up with.
So what
Cat
you
wedding
could
in
do
your
as well
future.
off the back of it as well. So one of the things which I'm planning on doing next time we have a good one that he's sort of had a go at writing with me, you can ask it to make colouring pages for you. So you can ask it to create a colouring image with this kind of thing happening in it. So you can say like, can you do one of the two cats getting married? Like print off a colouring picture, and then essentially you can illustrate the story with them. Like then they can even copy it out, like, or they could do some writing practice or whatever. And it's like, you've helped them to write it, you've helped them to put it together, but now they've got something they can maybe copy, or like, it's a great opportunity to kind of just be creative and have fun with them and to generate something. And some of the stories are brilliant. Like it really is clever, but I'm sure it is pulling stuff from all sorts of places it shouldn't be really. But it's nice. And it's even stuff like yesterday buying new shoes for the kids and like oh gosh, just like research because I always seem to need to buy different types of shoes. Like my son's feet grow so fast that he's now out of child sizes. Like he's 8 years old. Shocking behavior, shocking. And so I was trying to find like adult men's versions of like the kids' shoes that he likes, and I was having a right job doing it. And I was like, okay, again, ChatGPT, please, I need like size whatever shoes with like, these are the features that I need it to have. They need to be robust. Like, I mean, seriously, he needs to climb, run, like all terrain. I don't want any like complaining. Like, I don't want them wearing through in 5 minutes or falling apart. Like, they need to have really good quality stitching, etc., etc. Like, please tell me where to go. And it obviously suggested a bunch of different brands and specific shoes within the brands that would meet the requirements. And so I was able to then go and actually find them. And it was correct in thinking that all those shoes would meet all the requirements, but they were also like £150. So it's worth making sure you put your budget on as a prompt too.
Right?
So like, there's all these things, you kind of learn a little bit of something else every time you use it. And like, I could have just further refined it and said, okay, well, my budget's actually like, I don't know, maximum £40 for a pair of shoes. Like, he's going to literally destroy them no matter what kind of shoes they are in approximately 2 minutes. So I'm not spending too much money. I mean, that's already too much money, but you know what I mean? So yeah, you can refine it in any way you like. So I think one of the struggles that I think people have, so I noticed there's been some conversations about AI in our community's chat group recently. We've got like a WhatsApp of all of our home ed family, as we call it. And people have been talking about AI, and they have been saying that like more often than not, they find it really frustrating because it doesn't always produce what they want it to, or it's not very accurate or whatever. And the truth is that an AI will only be as accurate as the prompts you give it. Now, if you think about the information that you want from it as if it's a spreadsheet, and you think to yourself, well, what are the categories of information that I need within that information? So, for example, say take an example of wanting to contact someone. You would need their name, maybe their job title, the business they work for, the email address, like what sorts of things they're interested in, what are their current initiatives, like I'd say this is for like a work thing, like what is the business's current initiatives and missions, like how am I going to ensure that they understand me? So they need to know who my business is, they need to know what we're doing right now, why it's relevant to them, and therefore why we should have this conversation. So if you think of that like a spreadsheet, you've got all these different like channels. It doesn't know that you want any of that included. So if you think of it in that kind of really structured way, so you want a learning So you've got, you want to cover the Amazon rainforest. You want to ensure that you are covering maths, English, science, art, design, computers, technology, music, etc. Please, can you give me 5 activities that would cover off all of these things, taking into mind like per title, so per like maths, English, etc. I want 5 activities for each. And I want you to factor in the fact that my children are both autistic and ADHD and therefore need to have a lot of activity, movement, sensory play, that one of them doesn't particularly enjoy crafts, but the other one does. So we might all need to have a variety of things. So like, I know it sounds like a lot, but you're going to be doing all this thinking anyway, right? So take a minute to actually lay it out really clearly. What is it that you want it to produce? What are your priorities and goals for this? And it will then produce you a plan. And then obviously just go through it, add some stuff, refine it, talk to it.
That's what I
Sometimes
do.
I literally just copy and paste it out and then I just go and edit it somewhere. Like I don't spend ages necessarily going back and forth with it. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I'll just take it and go and then play with it myself. It just gives me a starting point. It just stops me from having to do all of the from basics thinking for myself. And ultimately, it just allows you to have that opportunity to take some of the time out of the task. Now, kind of swinging back around briefly to the whole like slowing down and fast life and all the rest of it, this is not an opportunity to suddenly have to do loads more in your life. So I really want to stress that the use of this is not to suddenly give you loads of extra things that you're supposed to be doing with the kids and to set yourself a brand new schedule that utilizes every second of the day. Like, use it how you like. If that's the kind of person you want to be, then great, go for it. But if you are trying to slow down and you're trying to be more intentional, then use this as an opportunity to be intentional. Use it as an opportunity to ask it to help you to slow down. Like, this is what I typically do in my day. How can I better optimize it? How can I actually like habit stack some of this? Like, is there anything that I'm doing separately that maybe we could do together? Like, for example, I tend to do quite a lot of my like I'm going to say lectures because it's a lecture, as in like a college lecture, like a conversation with the kids about a subject that I want to talk to them about, that I want them to stay with me and blooming well listen. A 40-minute car journey, perfect opportunity to spend 10-15 minutes of that car journey having a chat with them about something important. They can't run away. So they are stuck with me. They're going to have this chat about boundaries right now. That's no choice. But you could ask it to help you habit stack your day a bit better. You could ask it to help you to put some plans and stuff in place of things you could do, like learning aims off the back of a day trip that you're going on. Like, what could we do whilst we're there, or what could we do when we get back to kind of reinforce the learning? But what I don't want you to do is to start thinking, right, well, if I use this, then I've saved the 2 hours that I spend sitting and planning every half term. I don't have to do that anymore. So now I'm going to use that 2 hours to do something else and to add more in elsewhere. What we're trying to do here, we all have a hectic lifestyle. We are all running and racing from one thing to the next far too much. I want you to gift this to yourself. This is something which you're thinking, okay, do you know what? I haven't tried this very much. I'm going to give it a go. Please gift yourself the time back in the form of listening to a book with a coffee, or going for a nice walk and chilling, or genuinely setting a timer for the 3 hours that you'd normally would have spent doing your planning and organizing on a Sunday morning, and do it with ChatGPT, get it done in 20 minutes, then put it down, and then use that leftover 2 hours to go and relax. Yeah, go watch a movie, go relax and play with your children, go and actually have that cup of coffee and put your feet up. Like, please, 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 don't use this as an opportunity to suddenly like fill that time with other things. I know we've all got other things we could fill it with, but equally, if it allows you to get more into your home ed. So I find that I have found in the past that I would feel like I was never quite on top of things. I didn't feel particularly organized. I didn't feel like I had ideas. And sometimes, like with, again, ADHD brain, you do get quite exhausted and you can't be bothered to sit and think of something else to do. You get a bit stuck. You can't think of anything. And so this does help me sometimes. I'm just like, okay, we're all bored. Like, these are the resources I've got available to me. Can you suggest something fun that we can do that will still help us to learn something? Like, don't even care what it is. Just suggest something. Right. And it will give me something to do that we'll all enjoy doing. So get creative with it, have a play with it, ask it some questions, but think any question that you sit and mull over on a regular basis, anything that you're worrying about, meal planning, like how to talk to your mum about struggles you've got with the kids' behaviors and you want her to understand like how to talk to them in a different way to try and get more out of them, like, or anything that you are sitting mulling over, worrying about, thinking about, that's taking up your brain space, try asking it, try having a conversation with it. And I promise you're going to be so surprised at how helpful it can be. But yeah, so I think that streamlining home ed with a little bit of AI is not a bad thing, but definitely don't fully adopt this means we can go even faster, we can get even more done in our day, because yes, okay, maybe that's true, but actually we're not supposed to always be trying to make more happen. Sometimes this is meant to be about simplifying it a little bit, aka using the washing machine instead of having to lug your washing down to a communal place and sit for 3 hours scrubbing it with your own hands. Like, we've gained some time back. Don't just fill it with stuff that makes you miserable.
Yes, very good points.
All right, guys. So I think we'll wrap that one up there for now. Hopefully that's been helpful. Do reach out if any of this wasn't clear and you want some more advice on how to make AI work for your business a little bit more, then do reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk you through it and to support you with a bit more. If you want me to do like a proper workshop on it or something, I can do as well. So let me know if you'd like that. All right, guys, have a fantastic week.
Take care.
You've been listening to the Big Home Ed Conversations podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Big Home Ed Podcast for updates. And we can't wait to see you next week, where we talk about how we are breaking away from the sit-down culture. See you then.